Against the backdrop of an unfolding hostage drama in Algeria, Euronews spoke to Anna's Fogh Rasmussen, the Secretary-General of NATO. Currently faced with major conflicts in Afghanistan, Mali and Syria, amongst others, Rasmussen told us about NATO's role in the modern world.
Mr. Rasmussen, thank you for welcoming Euronews in NATO headquarters. We're all watching the developing situation in the north of Africa. First, what's your assessment of hostage situation in Algeria?
I condemn in the strongest possible terms the attack, the murders and the hostage taking, and I offer my sincere condolences to the families and loved ones of the workers who were killed, and I express my strong solidarity with the countries affected.
There are suggestions that there is a new front opening up for NATO across the whole region in Somalia, Mali, now Algeria, perhaps Niger or Mauritania. Do you see it in this way?
I don't see a role for NATO as such. Obviously, we monitor the situation closely. Actually, we have been concerned for many years about the situation in the Sahel region, the activities of terrorist groups, extremists, criminal gangs. And this is also a reason why I welcome the swift action taken by France in Mali at the request of Mali's president. It's my clear assessment that it was needed to take action to pave the way for an African-led stabilization force.
Obviously, France is a member of NATO. Is NATO considering helping this operation by we'll say AVAX planes or drones or intelligence? After all, you are sharing the resources.
Yeah, I don't see a role for NATO as an organization, but a number of individual NATO allies are assisting France with logistics, transport capacity, surveillance, reconnaissance.
But they must be coordinating somehow their efforts through Brussels, through here, so somehow NATO is involved in this sense as a hub.
NATO as an organization is not involved.
And now European Union is training Malian soldiers, and EU is providing medical facility and so on. Isn't it NATO's job? Why is the European Union is doing it?
There is a strong need for training and education of Mali armed forces. So I welcome this EU training mission. We can't allow Mali to become a breeding ground for terrorism.
NATO has dealt with breeding ground of terrorists in Afghanistan. Why not in Mali?
NATO can't be the world's policeman, traveling from country to country to solve all problems. I think it's a good idea to have a division of labor. And let me remind you that the United Nations Security Council has mandated an African-led stabilization force to take action in Mali.
And now NATO these days is helping its member Turkey to defend itself by deploying Patriot missiles. But Turkey is not under threat of military invasion or systematic big shelling. Are these Patriot missiles a weapon too strong for this kind of threat, don't you think?
No, it's absolutely an appropriate measure to take, a purely defensive measure. We have seen security incidents along the Syrian-Turkish border. We have seen shellings across the border, loss of life on the Turkish side of the border. We have seen the launch of missiles on Syrian territory, but close to the Turkish border. So there is a real potential threat. And this is a reason why NATO allies decided to demonstrate clear solidarity with Turkey and augment Turkey's air defense so that we can ensure effective protection of the Turkish population and Turkish territory.
But Patriots could also be used for other, maybe defensive actions like patrolling no-fly zone. Are there any plans to use them or any other weapon in further military action if the situation in Syria and around escalates?
We have no intention to intervene militarily in Syria, and we made clear right from the outset that the deployment of Patriot missiles is a purely defensive measure. We have no intention to use it to prepare a no-fly zone. Actually, technically, it's not designed to prepare or enforce a no-fly zone.
Well, however, it changes the strategic balance. Is it a further pressure on Damascus regime and encouragement to the rebels' deployment of these weapons?
The purpose of this deployment is effective defense and protection of the Turkish population and Turkish territory. But having said that, of course, it also acts as a clear deterrence, so that the regime in Damascus doesn't even think about attacking Turkey. And I really urge the regime in Damascus to accommodate the legitimate aspirations of the Syrian people and stop the crackdowns on the civilian population. It's absolutely outrageous what we're witnessing in Syria.
We mentioned Afghanistan. Your operation there is at the later stage. After 2014, will there be any NATO personnel left in Afghanistan, or there will be zero options, as some American officials suggest?
We have decided that we will stay in Afghanistan also beyond 2014. We follow our plan. Our plan is to gradually hand over lead responsibility for the security to the Afghans. This process has been started and it will be completed by the end of 2014. So, by the end of 2014, our current ISAF combat mission will be completed. From the 1st of January 2015, we will establish a training mission to give advice, to assist, to train Afghan security forces. That's our ambition.
You got the figures of personnel?
No, we have not yet decided on the size of that training mission. We will make that decision in the very near future. We are in the process of planning that future mission.
Secretary General of NATO, thank you very much for your interview to Euronews.
You're welcome.